Hour number 3 rolling along here on the early line down the right side along with Davis Maddock. We've talked a lot of action this morning across every single sport. The one we haven't gotten to yet, which is in spring training and just a few short weeks away from opening day, that's Major League Baseball. But don't you fret, people. We have our Major League Baseball insider, also the host of Newswire, SportsGrid's own Craig Mish, joins the program on this Thursday morning. Craig, how's it going out there?
Yeah, we're doing great here. We're closing in on a couple of weeks of spring training, couple of weeks to go. Pretty soon we'll be talking about opening day. Let's also not forget overseas, the Dodgers will play the Padres, and that's less than 2 weeks away. So an exciting time for baseball.
Certainly is here as we've been going over division by division, getting the people ready for opening day. Today, it's the NL East, and that includes the Atlanta Braves, the Philadelphia Phillies, New York Mets, Miami Marlins, and the Washington Nationals. Let's just get it started here first. The favorites at the top of the heap are the Atlanta Braves, followed by the Philadelphia Phillies at a plus 330 price. So I'll ask you to start here. Braves, Phillies, looks like they'll be traveling here, or traveling down that road to win the NL East. Do you agree with the odds makers here at the FanDuel Sportsbook with the Braves, a minus 290, heavy favorite here?
Yeah, I mean, you just have to look at track record of where the Braves have been, and they basically have dominated the division now like they did back when they had Maddox, Glavine, and Smoltz and Chipper Jones. Like doing it again, and they're doing it with another core again, and all these players are signed for a long period of time. So I would expect that to continue this year. It's a rare market of a minus 250 or above that I think is accurate and fair. You know, certainly the Phillies will have to prove that early on in the season they can hang with the Braves because they've proven they can beat them out in the end by going deeper in the postseason. But for whatever reason, the Phillies have been slow starters. Thus far this offseason, the Phillies have been relatively quiet. The Braves added Chris Sale. They're hoping that that is the secret sauce to get this pitching staff deeper, maybe into the postseason. But I do agree with the line and the number. I think the Braves should be the favorite. And once again, they're going to have to change something up, I think, at the end of the season, whether it's, you know, their routine, they have these buys and they don't play for a week. But I still do like the Braves probably to win the division again.
They are, I mean, look, other than the Dodgers, they probably are the best team in the National League. Although on Fantasy Sports Today, when we were doing our NL East preview, I brought up, like, the Phillies are kind of just the perfect postseason baseball team because it's really two strong starting pitchers. And it's just a bunch of guys, Craig. The Philadelphia Phillies, their top four, they have guys who come to the plate with one thing in mind. The Philadelphia Phillies want to hit dingers. They are very good at hitting those aforementioned home runs. Do you think the Phillies, maybe not in the division, but can challenge the Braves for postseason success in the National League?
Yeah, no, I absolutely think so. And the Phillies have not been afraid to acquire players. Remember, they got Michael Lorenzen at the trade deadline last year, and so they tried harder with the starting pitching. And I do think as far, Davis, as them in the postseason, they have the best pitcher of them all in Zach Wheeler, like the best between Atlanta and Philadelphia. So in a 7-game series, you have Wheeler 3 times. I don't know which Brave would go 3 times in that series. You know, certainly Spencer Strider is great and Max Fried is great, but I mean, Wheeler is postseason tested at this point and has basically rose to the occasion every time. So I can understand that, and maybe it's more of a thing where you wait till later in the season and then take the Phillies when you know they're not going to win the division, potentially to get better odds as far as going deeper into the playoffs. Because I think once that's done, FanDuel, DraftKings, they will adjust the odds. The Phillies will be more of a long shot than they are now.
If you take a look here at the NL East, too, and the two top front runners, the Atlanta Braves and the Philadelphia Phillies, the one thing I do love, Craig, is the continuity. The Philadelphia Phillies basically said, yep, we're going to bring Aaron Nola back right away. We're going to extend Zach Wheeler so we don't have those questions all season long, and primarily the same lineup that you had last year. But the one thing you brought up as well with the Atlanta Braves is they do the same thing. They don't have any whole major issues here. Young pitchers all coming back. That lineup here is secured for years in advance. Talk to me about how that helps a Major League Baseball team when you're knowing, like, you know what? This is the team we're set out with. We've been together a while. The clubhouse is the same. We're not changing major leaders here, and how good that is for a team heading into the 2024 season.
Yeah, well, Donnie, I mean, you said it, like clubhouse culture. When players come over to the Braves, they know what they're getting into. They know the players that are going to be there. It's, you know, there's a lot of track record for describing how the players are treated in the clubhouse with their families and travel, et cetera. And their reviews are always excellent. So I think it takes a special player right now to jump into that mix because, quite frankly, Donnie, this team is so deep in terms of their lineup, very similar to the Phillies, by the way, but the Braves lineup 1 through 9, maybe even a little bit deeper. I mean, if Michael Harris batting at the end of that lineup for Atlanta, So look, health of Acuna obviously key. Looks like he dodged a major issue and should be ready for opening day, coming off the MVP season that he had a year ago. And as far as the starting pitching is concerned, look, Strider's phenomenal. We still have to see that in the postseason. Regular season, he's going to be a Cy Young Award candidate. Sale has looked fantastic thus far this spring. Now, I don't know if that will carry over, but we definitely have to mention that. Max Fried is in the rotation too. Charlie Morton. I mean, I know that they put their win total at 100. You could easily see it going over that again.
You definitely could. The rest of the division here, I mean, look, we have the New York Metropolitans, everyone's favorite wild spending team. Last year, ended up trading away a bunch of the guys that they spent on an 80.5 team win total, 2-1 to make the playoffs. This is the Cohen experience, Craig. I mean, what a bummer for Mets fans who thought that they had found the golden goose just 2 years ago.
Yeah, it's a very strange dynamic to see the Mets win last offseason, them being one of the favorites to win the World Series, and spending over $300 million, everybody pushing up Steve Cohen like he's the best owner since Steinbrenner. And now it's just done. It's over. That's it. All right, that was fun. We realized we can't do it that way. Now we got to do it another way. And really, no one even talks about it. It's still like, oh, it's like just accepted. So I would also tell people to be very cautious when you see your favorite team. I know you're happy with them spending $250 or $300 million. It doesn't always lead to success. And by the way, Davis, some major mistakes in Verlander and Scherzer. I mean, paying 40-year-old guys $40 million a season, I don't get any of that. Now, they're going to try and do it differently. Who knows why Cohen's decided to do it? Maybe other people in the room are looking at him like, what are you doing, man? Like, I don't know why all of a sudden he's pivoted from this. Could the Mets win 80 games, guys? Yeah, sure, right? But they're a 500 team. They're that on paper. If Senga's not healthy, though, this is going to go under. I mean, they do not have the pitching if this guy is not healthy this season.
Tough times ahead for those Mets, but let's talk about those Miami Marlins here, who had a very good young lineup last year, led by Luis Ariz, who was fantastic last year, flirting with basically 400. He ended up hitting 354, but Josh Bell brings some power here, acquiring him last year in a trade, as well as Jake Berger. Obviously, we know Jazz Chisholm Jr. is a star in the making. This is a good young lineup for the Marlins. Talk to us, Craig, about the outlook for 2024 for those Marlins.
Yeah, I mean, I still think it's a work in progress, remains to be seen. I mean, Soler is a big loss for the Marlins, and they simply didn't replace him. Their starting pitching is going to be very strong, I think, from start to finish, even with the fact that it looks like Braxton Garrett's going to start the season on the injured list. A.J. Puck has looked really good. He could be a player for them that starts game 3 of the season. But offensively, guys, they're going into another season that's going to be challenging. And as we stand right now, and I hate to do this, but 2 weeks into spring training, they don't have a single player on their team that's going to be on their team opening day that's hit a home run in the spring. So think about that for a minute. They have got to start finding some production offensively. I'm not big in the spring numbers, but Miami's going to be challenged a little bit. And by the way, they have a new president of baseball operations in Peter Bendix. I think this guy's going to do a great job sort of reconfiguring how the organization works. But as far as this year is concerned, I'm sort of up in the air with the way things will go.
Craig, real quick, reconfiguring. Go ahead, Davis. Yeah,
you do
go
it.
ahead. Shoot.
All right,
I was going to say Washington
give me
Nationals.
One thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
Give me one thing to be excited about for the Nationals.
I'll give you a lot of things to be excited about. Crow and James Wood. I mean, they got a lot of young prospects that are going to mash. C.J. Abrams, Davis, if you're not taking him in the NFBC, you're making a huge mistake. He's going to be 30, 40, or 50 this season. Pitching still leaves a little bit to be desired, but there isn't a team that made a better trade, I think, in the last couple of years than trading Juan Soto to get those players back. At the time, I thought it was crazy, but they struck gold.
He's Craig Mish, our Major League Baseball insider. Spring training almost into the regular season. We'll be back next, college basketball.